Hi guys, and welcome back to this week's episode of the Actors Waiting Room podcast. And this week I have with me Gabrielle Hughes, who is an actor and singer. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for reaching out. Yeah, the TikTok post was amazing. Like so many people reached out, which is amazing. And like I'm really excited for the rest of this season now because there's like I get to meet so many different people now, which is awesome.
Yeah, I seen it and I was like, what a great opportunity for people to like just connect with each other. I think sometimes we really miss that in the industry, so it's really nice.
Yeah, I think like you said, like you don't really often connect with like-minded people unless you're like on a job.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
like to be able to just have an excuse to just chat to everybody is awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
So I thought obviously we'll talk about your acting journey and things like that. But you are an interesting one for me because you graduated 2 years ago,
Yes.
which means like still very fresh, which is
Oh my gosh, that's the nicest thing you could have ever said.
we have to normalize that, please. Like
I've been out for 2 years and I'm like, this is the end. Like, it's crazy.
absolutely not. No. Yeah, I definitely think, and I'm going to say that and preface that 2 years is not a long time to be graduated in the industry. And since then, you've also done some like amazing things. So you should be so happy with like where you're at the moment. So definitely don't feel that you,
Yeah.
no, definitely not. So I presume that you trained in Scotland. Did you train there or?
Yes, I did. I wasn't I actually never planned to do it at uni. I was going to go and do English at uni.
Mhm.
Um and the sort of place where I went to school, they weren't very like supportive of people going to be an actor. It was very much like frowned upon. Um which I think is quite normal in schools nowadays. Like it's very much like go and get an academic sort of job. And on the whim, I was just like, do you know what? I'm going to apply for musical theatre and see if I get in.
Mm.
And I applied, and they were like, yeah, come and do a course. I did a 3 year HND in musical theatre first,
Okay.
and then I was like, I don't think I'm a triple threat. I was like, I probably can't do your pirouettes and all that stuff. So then I went on to do an acting course,
Mhm.
and then from that since I've just sort of stuck to acting and stuck to singing.
Nice, nice. And then, sort of like my next question is, because I never really get to ask this very often, is like, how did you feel? I feel like it'll still be quite fresh for you. Is that like, how did it feel emerging into the industry after you trained and just being like, oh, here we are?
Um, I think I was quite a niche one coming into the industry because I think I was very lucky. I was like a one of few people in my class that got signed quite quickly, and then I got the job pretty much right away. And I know that it usually doesn't happen like that. So I think when I first left, I was sorted for the next year job wise, which is so rare. And I know that like it was such a blessing to be able to have that after uni.
Hmm.
So the first year was great. The first year I was like, woo, this is me, I'm good to go. And then after that year I was dead for maybe about the next year. So I wouldn't say it was until the second year I was out that I sort of really understood what it was like to like be emerging but also not have work and like be competing against everyone else in Scotland for the 80 jobs that we have going right now. Do you know what I mean? So it was definitely a scary time after I'd stopped working for the year. But I mean also like working going on to like such big jobs as a graduate was terrifying as well because they don't
Mm.
really prepare you for what that's like, even though you do all the training that you can, you
Mm.
do all the sort of technique training that you can, but you don't really get prepared for like the nitty gritty stuff that you learn only by being on a set or only by being in a rehearsal room. So I think all those things I picked up pretty quickly because I sort of had to. I had not really any other choice.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like I did it opposite. I was good for a year, and then after that year, I was like, what do I do now?
Yeah, it was weird. I had that in my year as well. It was kind of like a split between people who emerged into the industry and we were all figuring out what we were doing. And then obviously you had some people that were, booking work straight away. And like I was in the first category of like not really booking much to start with, but just sort of navigating how we audition and things like that, which was nice. But then you saw the other people halfway through their sort of second year and they were like, how do I how do we do this now? And I was like, oh well, we had to do that the first year time round, but like there's I think to be an actor, like you're always going to have to learn that. Like there's going to be
Yeah.
always a stage where you have to learn of like, oh, what do we do when we're not working or whatever and things like that. But the skill that people don't really talk about, I think, is this like picking up things on the job. There
Yeah.
is no way to prepare yourself. Well, I just found that there was no way to prepare myself unless I was in the job and doing it. Like, you know,
They don't teach you at uni, but I guess
how would you though?
as long as you have the skill of being able to perform, when you get there, it will figure itself out. And don't get me wrong, it does most of the time figure itself out, but it's very daunting to go and do jobs like that when you have no like prior sort of experience on jobs like that. So it was really scary, but I mean I'm so grateful for those opportunities at that time.
Yeah, yeah, and I think just having an open mind to those sort of environments, and that I've noticed that like every rehearsal room runs slightly differently, and although like yes, there are some key similarities between certain processes, but the director seems to run it, kind of how they want to run it, and like so it's kind of nice to know that if people have like, oh, I haven't booked a job yet, and I don't really know how it runs. A lot of people, even though if they have booked jobs, sometimes it's still completely different when you walk into that arena.
Yes, never the same. Even though you think it probably will be, you'll get there and be like, this is so different to what I've just done, and you have to adapt. And I think that's one of the things that makes us so employable is like our ability to be able to adapt to each situation as well. So
Yeah. No, definitely, definitely. And I was wondering, sort of, I mean, did you book your first sort of big job for your first audition when you came out, or was it maybe a second audition or whatever first?
I was I had maybe 2 months to go before I graduated,
Okay.
and I because we had our show. It was weird because we were like a COVID year, if you will. So
Hmm.
we had our showcase maybe around the end of April, sort of beginning of May, and
Hmm.
we didn't graduate until July. So even after the showcase came out, we had like maybe about a month and a half before we graduated. And so in that time, I'd very luckily signed with an agent. And I think I was two doors down with my first job out of uni, and it was maybe the first or second audition that I'd got through from my agent. Um, so I knew that I knew that I was going into that pretty much maybe like a month before I was graduating, and it was really a weird. I couldn't tell anyone. I'd signed like NDAs, like I think I maybe told my mom. I don't know. I can't remember, but I couldn't tell anyone and I couldn't really talk about it. But everyone was like, "So what are you doing after uni?" And I was like,
Don't
I'm
know.
good. I can't talk about it, but I'm good." And so yeah, it was very lucky that my agent. I think it was very lucky that that's what the casting team at Tudor Down were looking for, like someone that looked like me and had like I was working in Starbucks at the time. And I think that helped as well because the job was like a barista, and I was like, great, I can come in and make you a coffee, not a problem. So I
Mm.
think that really helped. Um, but yeah, it was a very niche experience coming out of uni, not and sort of not being stuck for what I'm doing next.
Mm.
Um, it solidified that this is what I always want to be doing. So I'm
Mm.
grateful that that happened. Like because I feel like if I came out of uni and maybe didn't work for like 6, 7, 8 months, I would start to have that doubt of like, is this really what I'm meant to be doing? But as soon as I came out of uni and went on to that set, I was like, nah, this is where, like, how do I keep being here is the question I'm always asking myself when I'm working. Like, how do I keep, how do I get to do this every single day? Is the question I'm always like, for.
Yeah, did you feel that type of pressure it being your first audition after you trained? Because I know that I certainly did when I had my first audition outside of uni, of being like, I've trained
Yeah,
now I've got to kind of put it into practice and I've got to go to this audition.
Yeah, for sure. So it was a Two Doors Down was a self tape, and I remember getting it through, and I was extremely sick. I was like had the flu,
Oh.
and I didn't know what the show was.
What was this? This was Two
Yeah, this
Doors
was
Down for the BBC.
yeah, yeah. So I had no idea what it was. Like I had no idea. Obviously, I knew who like Elaine C. Smith was and stuff, but I didn't know anything about the show.
Mm.
So the audition, to be honest with you, Grace, I was like, I'm sick and I can't be bothered doing this. I was like, but I'm just going to do it anyway because obviously it's your couple of your first auditions, so you want to just do it and like make everyone happy.
Mm.
So and then I did my self tape, and then maybe about 2 days later, my agent called, and it was basically the first phone call we've had since I like after I signed with them. So I was like, just a lot of emotions at the same time, and he was like, they love you, they want you to go into BBC. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, this can't be happening. I was like it was crazy. It was really crazy to think back on now. And I went in and met with the whole team at BBC and did this exact same thing as I did in the self tape, which I thought was weird at the time. And then I left, and I thought it went really well. And I left, and the next day my agent phoned me again, and I thought, oh, he's just going to phone me and let me know that, like, tell me that I've not got it. That's fine. Like, the rejection begins. So I thought, and he's like, how do you think you got on yesterday? And I was like, well, fine. Like, I thought I did, like, for one of my first auditions, I thought I did well. Like, and he was like, well, yeah, because you got it.
Oh.
I was like, this is no way this is happening. And I don't think it was until I went into rehearsal that I realised the sort of multitude of the show in Scotland and how big it is and how much everyone loves it. I would say my sort of, not my life changed, I'm not like, I don't mean like that, but certainly things I had to adapt to when I was on that job. So yeah, it was definitely like such a whirlwind of 6 months coming out and going right into a job as big as that, and having Elaine C. Smith like call you and all that is really, really, really crazy. But I'm so grateful for it, and I learned a lot on that set. So I'm like excited to be able to take that into my next jobs with me.
Yeah, and I'm wondering when you went into obviously that recall at the BBC to be like, right, this is the recall. Did you play it exactly the same as what you did in your self tape, and then they redirected, or like how did you approach that? Because I think it's sometimes a bit daunting when they ask you for your recall to do the exact same script that you did for your self tape, and sometimes you go, okay, well, they must have liked it, so maybe I'll just do it the same way. That would be my logic. But then sometimes I feel like you get into your head and you go, oh, actually, maybe they wanted something really different, and maybe I should go in
Yeah.
and do something different. So how did you navigate that?
Really interesting question. I actually don't think I was thinking about it that much because I was so nervous about everything else.
Yeah.
I don't think I was thinking much about my performance because I was just like terrified of going and like meeting with the producers and meeting with the director. So I can admit now, like 2 years, looking on 2 years, I was very much in my head. And I went in, and I think I think I did the same thing, and they were like, okay, try this. But I think I did do the same things because I think I was too scared maybe at the time to like try and branch out. I wasn't sure like what was acceptable and what wasn't, and what they wanted and how to figure that out. Still don't know how to figure that out now 2 years on. But like, I don't think I was majorly conscious of my acting choices, if that makes sense. Like, I think I was just worried.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like I'm in the BBC and like I'm sitting in front of these producers and like, and then I'd done it the first time and I sat down the whole time, and
Okay.
I didn't even think about the fact that like I hadn't stood up until I left. Sat down sat in a chair. I was like, this the full time, and they were like sitting across from me, and I left, and I was like, Gabby, why did you not stand up? Like, that was such a weird thing that I thought when I left. So yeah, it's really interesting because now I think I'm a lot more chiller in the room. So I'm a lot more conscious of like my acting, sorry, and like what my choices are and what I could bring differently to the role. But I think at the time I was like, okay, they like what I've done before, so just do the exact same thing and hopefully I'll book it.
Mm.
And I think for that part, they were looking for the naturalism. So because I wasn't thinking about it, I was just doing it like naturally. And I think that's why I got it, because I wasn't like overthinking it and I wasn't hyping it up. They were just looking for like a simple performance from me. But again, when you study theatre, you don't really get taught the difference between TV acting and stage acting. So
True.
I was in my tape. I did one sort of tape first and sent it to my friend, and he was like, "Can you calm down?" He was like, "Why are you?" And I was like, "I don't know how to like tape for telly yet." So that was also another learning experience, like not to go in the room and remember that it wasn't a theatre audition; it was for telly.
Mm.
That was really interesting. But to answer your question, I don't think I really thought about it, and I think that's maybe worked in my favour.
I think that's such a nice answer as well, and it's very truthful about like going into the room and actually saying that, oh my God, these people are here, and that obviously you realize this like the weight of where you were. Like I think a lot of people say like, oh, I just went into the audition and I just tried my best and that was it. But like it's very nice and very human of you to just go, oh my God, it was for the BBC. Like, of course that's going through your head. Like, yeah.
And I remember as well when I went in, like I think they were running late, but there was no way of them coming to tell me that because it was just so busy. So I
Mm.
was just sitting there and like I was sweating and like it was such a like looking back on it now, you're so right. Like it's such a human experience. Like I
It's
think a
normal
lot
to be like that.
like absolutely terrified, and I was terrified my first day on set, and I was terrified my last day on set, and like it doesn't leave you because I think when you graduate, you're sort of taught this like idea that you need to be so like
Perfect.
yeah, and that you like need to earn the right to be there, and that you have to like be super grateful. Which gratitude is always good, and I'm super grateful to be there. But gratitude to the point of like where you don't feel like you should be there. That's what I sort of felt like I had like I was overcompensating it to the point where I was like, right, I need to chill because I went through the audition process and I did book this job and I am good at what I do and I am learning. I think I was only 22 when I booked it, so I was young.
Mm.
But yeah, I learned a lot from being on that set, and it's really changed sort of the way I approach being on a set now, I think.
Massively. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, you've touched a little bit on it before, but describe to me sort of what is the acting scene like in Scotland? Like, what's it like there?
It's very small, very, very small, and I think that can sometimes be a blessing, it sometimes can be a curse because it means that often the same sort of jobs are coming up for the same type of actors, so it can be a sort of recycling situation. Being an actor in a small pond and being a person of color is also, I would say, very challenging because there's not a lot of representation, even though it is getting better. There's
Mm.
still a huge amount of rep happening for people of color. I would say for diversity overall, but I can only speak for being a person of color in terms of the diversity. Um, so that's also an extra layer of sort of pressure that I feel.
Absolutely.
I was the only person of color in my. I might be wrong, but maybe in my 4 years of training, I was the only person of color in my class at the time. At the time,
Hmm.
true representation of the fact that not a lot of people of color are coming through and coming up into the acting scene because it's not very accessible, especially like in schools and things like that as well.
Right.
So it's definitely hard, but I've managed to like turn it into like a positive that it's small because it means like there's not a lot of competition because there's not a lot of us.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, it's no sorry. There you go.
I was just saying that, like, because you've obviously had that experience of being, a woman of color in this industry in Scotland. Is there anything that you would give to somebody else in a similar bracket or position to you in this industry, if at all, if it could help?
Like some advice? Do you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I definitely would say like I always say I get told no probably a lot more than the regular white person would, just
Fair.
because the way I look, and sometimes growing up people wouldn't look at me and think, oh, leading lady, or they wouldn't look at me and think like she's pretty enough to be a leading lady or things like that, which is just how I felt. Obviously I'm not speaking for everyone, but I would say to any sort of young person of colour like that's trying to come up into the industry, like if you believe in yourself, that's the most important thing, because someone else will believe in you. And I'm not saying like just use it as a superpower, like use your heritage and your ethnicity to like to sort of that's how you're different and that's how you're made, and it's beautiful and it's perfect. But there is gaps for it now. There is a lot more gaps for it, and I think that it's often we grow up and we look at being a person of colour as a bad thing, but it's actually a beautiful
Of
thing.
course it is,
And
yeah.
you can be bold and you can be loud and you can show yourself like I can do this just as much as any other person can. And I think that just believing in yourself and having a good support system around you massively helps. But don't let people say, oh, you can't do that because you're not white, because it's absolutely a load of rubbish.
Lovely. Amazing. Amazing. And so is it more of like a theatre scene, or have you got more TV and film, do you think, up in Scotland? Or is it a bit
It's
both?
interesting. I think it's a bit of both. I would definitely say a lot more theatre is happening just now. In terms of film and TV, we sort of go through periods up here where either we'll get a lot shooting here or not a lot shooting here. It's sort of either or. Um, but it's just because there's not a lot of agents are also based in Scotland, so the sort of agents that we do have, they're all getting the same material through from the casting directors and things. So it's definitely getting bigger, and I get so excited when like I find out that like something's filming here, or like for example we have Spider-Man is filming in Glasgow just now.
Cool.
Tom Holland Spider-Man, so that's been like hectic, and it's been really nice to see that Glasgow's sort of getting used to like shoot
Yeah.
and stuff. That's really nice. In terms of like the film and television scene, it just depends on like it could be cast in Glasgow, but it might not be shooting in Glasgow, or vice versa. Like they could be casting in London, but it's filming in Glasgow. So it really just depends. Like depends on the time of year. Depends on what's been made, and I think that's really important. Is that we're making stories more for people of colour and for accessibility and for diversity. And I think a lot of the time it is in the hands of the writers and the producers
Yeah.
to write things like that. And I think that's why a lot of time in university actors are told like write your own thing, so that you're able to make your own work. And it really is true. Like if you're writing your own thing, then you're writing the stories that you want to be told for people that you know. And that's how a lot of work gets made as well up here. People know each other a lot, which is nice. It's like a nice community. So
Yeah.
you're often friends, which is nice.
I also think as well, like it's like obviously there are fewer female writers than there are male writers, obviously in the industry, and I like it's nice that you're saying like go and write stuff like from a female point of view, because like write your own stories, because as women we want to hear more female stories and female led stories, definitely from everyone. Um, I might, should I go back to it? Yeah, okay, let's talk about it. I was like, should we talk about Department Q? Yeah, let's talk about it. Yeah, so obviously you have booked a very big job, which is Department Q, that is on Netflix. It is everywhere. It's all over my Netflix. Obviously, and you've got some big names in there, like Matthew Good, who I absolutely adore anyway. I love him. Yeah, so tell me what that was like, let's start off with the casting process for that, for something like Netflix, because I feel like the casting process for Netflix, I think seems to be quite hidden, but I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yes.
How did that go for you?
So for Department Q, it was really interesting because I don't think when I first read the brief that it said Netflix in it. Because I don't remember reading the brief and being like, oh my gosh, this is for Netflix. I didn't have that, so I don't think it said it. I remember it vividly because I was going to the Christmas markets like maybe at 6 o'clock, and I got the tape through at like 3.
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, okay, well, I better just do it. And so this was like maybe December of like 2023. It was towards the end of 2023 that I got it. So I'd done the tape, and honestly, Grace, did not think one thing of it. Like, because I got to the point where I was just, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, I have no idea what this is, because there wasn't a lot of info in the brief either. I think that I knew that, I think it said that I knew that it was good, it was Scott Frank that was doing it, and that was exciting because obviously the Queen's Gambit is the best show of all time.
Oh my God,
But
it is. Massively.
so I think I was like buzzing about that, but I didn't really realise what it was. And then, so I sent the tape away, literally didn't think anything of it, like went and had mulled wine, and I was like living my best life. And then about 3 or 4 weeks later, so it was like maybe nearly a month
Oh, wow.
before I got the call to be like, yeah, they would love to have you. And I was like, what? And then
Whoa.
I realised, because my agent said, I think she said Netflix would love to have you. And I was like, what is happening? So then I was like, okay. Then you sort of like have a panic attack. You're like, what do you mean I'm going to be on Netflix? Like, and like my role isn't huge, but I'm in like maybe 3 episodes, so it spanned across quite a lot of the show.
Mm.
I didn't realise that, so I was just like living my best life, happy to be there. So that was fine. Got the call, like was excited. Had Christmas holiday. Didn't think anything of it. And then maybe like the start of the next year, they wanted me to go to Edinburgh and do like your fittings and like meet everyone. And I was just like, what? I was like, really? You want me to go to? I couldn't believe it. And I'm friends with Leah Byrne, who plays Rose, and she's fantastic. So it was really nice to have her there. There's a
Oh,
lot of people in the show that we're all friends, so it was really nice to be able to go there and have like community and people
that's
that you
good.
know.
Mm.
And so I started to work on it maybe February, and I spent about a month and a half there, like in different time spans.
Hmm.
Um, and I've got a notes app in my phone, and it says things I learned on Department Q, because I learned so much from that job.
Yeah.
And again, you stop filming, and then you don't think anything of it because it doesn't come out for another year. And then so I was like telling my boyfriend about it. I was like, I'm going to be on a Netflix show, and he's like, shut up, are you really? And I was like, yeah, but the part's small, so you won't see me. And then he texts me one day, and he's like, babe, you're in the trailer. And I was like, oh my gosh. I
Yeah,
was like,
you
what is
are. I've looked
happening?
at it. Yeah.
And I was like, this is crazy. And then it came out, and I was just like, wow, like again, that overwhelming feeling of like, how do I just continue to do this? Because I loved my time on Dept Q. Like, I loved the people I met, people I worked with. It was the nicest job I've done so far. But I think that's also got to do with the fact that it's like such a high profile job. Like, you really notice the difference between jobs like that, and how you're treated and how you feel being on a set like that. You really notice it. Like, you really notice that there's like a lot of things riding on it, and that everyone really wants it to do well.
Mm, that's
And
nice.
that's a really nice thing. Obviously working with Matthew and Jamie, like, pinch me at the time. Like, at the time, I remember just trying not to freak out about it. Obviously, I love them both, and they're both fantastic actors and great guys. So that was really like, but they're so down to earth, and they're so humble, and like they would just sit with us and chat and give us advice, and like just they were so normal. And I think to myself, like, that's how it should be. Like, you should be just, it's a job, and they're just there to do a job at the end of the day, and they all really care about it, which is nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like the best time ever, and I love it so much, and I think about it every day.
Oh, that's amazing. That's great. That's so, so good. So you mentioned that you wrote some stuff down on your phone about like what you learned. Care to share a bit?
Read it out.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yes. Because I think, wait, I think I knew it was Netflix, so I knew that it was like, for me, it was a good opportunity to be seen by other people, casting directors, agents, whatever.
Mm.
So I really wanted, like, well, and I think the first day I was there, I definitely had imposter syndrome, for sure, for sure. I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
definitely like, why am I here? Like, I do not deserve to be here. Like, this is crazy.
Mm.
And then I maybe like a week later, I had a scene with, it was just myself, Matthew, and Jamie the full day. It was like a scene in the hospital we had to do over and over again because it was like really intricate. There was stunts, so it was just us three for like maybe the first 6 hours of the day,
Mm-hmm.
and I just consumed much information being with them and being in that environment by myself. And I thought, as in my trailer, and I was like talking to myself, I was like, Gabby, this is never going to happen again. Like, take it in. Like, don't worry about don't worry about not being good enough. Just take it in, enjoy yourself. Like, and I remember very vividly, like after a take, I'd be like, "You're not going to get many more takes, so just lap it up and enjoy it."
Yeah.
Like every conversation I was having, or with Matthew, or with Jamie, or with Leah, I would like really just be present because I knew that I was probably never going to get a chance to do something like that again. So
Yeah.
it was really, that's something as well, is just to be so present in the moment
Yeah.
and lap it up. It's a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
Um, so it says, yeah, no department Q. Okay, the first one says be nice to everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one says be nice to everyone. I think I learned the importance of, not that I was not nice, but it really does go a long way if you're like a nice person to work with and you really notice who's nice around you.
Mm.
It says make sure you learn as many names as you can and learn what everyone else's job is because it makes your time a lot easier,
Okay.
which is so interesting.
Mm.
Um, I would watch Matthew, and Matthew knew every single other person what they were meant to be doing. He knew,
Uh,
and I really took inspiration from that because I was like, he's not only good at his job, he's good at the craft as a whole,
mm.
and that's why I want to be able to go onto a set and not only be good at my job, but also just be good at the whole thing
Yeah. To just
because
know
it
how
really
to make
everybody.
something. Yeah.
For sure. For
Mm.
sure. The next thing I wrote was do not be afraid to be there.
Lovely. That's a nice one.
I think that something I really struggled with that the first couple of days. I was really like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. To be honest, I still wouldn't know what I'm doing, but like I do deserve to be there. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, you do. Yes.
And then I wrote some like, which I thought was interesting. I wrote some like terminology down
Nice.
because you don't really learn a lot of that in uni.
Mm.
Not like things like what the different camera angles were, and
Oh,
and
useful.
look to see if I would be seeing myself. I wrote like what traveling means because I didn't know what that meant. Everyone kept going, "We're traveling," and I would be like, What does that mean?" "It means we're moving. Get ready to move." Like things like that. They're all important to know. I feel like um, I wrote things down like take some things with you, like a book or a crossword, because you wait around so much. And
Mhm.
most of your day is sitting in the green room. But I think you underestimate how long it takes for like camera angles to be set up, for actors to change if they need to, for like director's notes. Like it's a very time consuming process. So I wrote like bring things to occupy yourself.
Yeah.
And then when I went for my second block of shooting, I wrote things like take everything in, the scenery, the conversations, the people who you're working with. And
Mm.
then like I said at the bottom, I wrote, how do I do this forever? And it's so nice to look back on and see like the things I picked up and like just yeah, it was like such a really niche learning experience.
Yeah, and I think what has probably given you as well is like that sense of confidence of like, I can do it. I can be in these rooms. And so like I feel like you probably take that unknowingly like into audition rooms now. So you're like not in like an arrogant way. I don't mean that. I just mean in the sense of like I deserve not that I deserve to be here, but you have that sense of like, okay.
I
Mm.
definitely, because when I did tutor, I had no idea, Grace, what was happening, not one clue. The
Mm.
director was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Like, you have no idea what's happening. So to
Mhm.
be able to go on to Dept Q, have like a little bit of an idea, and
Mm.
now when I do my next job, I'll have even more of an idea. And it's just about learning, like being open minded to learning about your craft I think is really important and like will get you far.
Yeah. And like, what do you, I don't know if you might not do anything. I sometimes ask actors and they're like, no, I don't, or I just learn on the job and stuff like that. Is there like any books and things that you like read or listen to things that are like very helpful to you in navigating this industry? Is there any resources that you're like, yeah.
I'm looking at my bookshelf to see. Um, there was a book called, I can't remember where it is. Sorry, oh wait, here it's here.
Oh my
It's
God.
called So You Want to Act on Screen by Michael Bay. Read
Okay.
it in uni, loved it. It tells you the difference between stage acting and screen acting.
Mm,
It's a lot of terminology, a lot of what you're going to be doing, a lot of how to act for camera, which is really good because, like I said, you don't really get taught that unless you go and do like a screen degree.
yeah, exactly.
I love this book. It talks a lot about the myths of screen acting, the myths of stage acting, how to differentiate them both. So this one is one of my favourites. I take it with me on every job so that I can like scribble notes in it and stuff.
Amazing. Thank you. I didn't expect like a little demo as well.
It's right next to me, so I'm always like adding things to it and looking for things to add. But yeah, I read a lot of books, and do you know what I do? I listen to other actors on a podcast. Like I think that's the only way to be able to like sort of take in some knowledge. Like your podcast is a podcast up in Scotland called The Braw and the Brave. Listen to that quite a lot. I just listen to other people talk because I understand it's really helpful for me to like get new ideas or like pick up some tips and tricks if I need it.
Yeah.
Um, because we're all going through the same thing, so it's really nice to be able to like relate to what someone else is saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's that as well, but I've started listening to a few like filmy podcasts, which are really cool as well because they talk about things sometimes that I don't understand, but I will try and pick up as I listen and go along and stuff. But I think, like you said about when you said about Matthew Good saying that he knew everything about or mostly what everyone's kind of job role was. I think if you can able to listen to like a writer's podcast or if you can listen to like a director's podcast or a film podcast, just little bits, it's not like you're going to have to be, a full on expert in those things. But I just think if you have just different elements of that, then it might just help when you're on set and go, okay, I kind of know what you're going to want to achieve. And that can help the actor, I
It
suppose.
helps, like you said, it helps you understand what they're looking for a bit more as well, because the film set can be very, very tense if we're running out of time, or it can be very time consuming, like I said. So if you know, like, okay, well, what's the DOP looking for? Like, not even like, you don't have to know his job inside out, but if you just know like a little bit of what they're doing,
Yeah.
it's going to, it made my job a lot easier to understand, like, okay, well, this is what the DOP is doing, this is what the director's looking for, the screenwriter's up the back, he's taking notes on how to change the script. Like, it makes it a lot less intimidating, I would say, to be
Yeah.
able to like a little bit of understanding of what's going on.
Absolutely. And so, what projects would you love to see yourself doing in the future?
Love this question so much because I'm like, okay, let's manifest some things for us. um, well, after having done Dept Q, like film and telly is what I definitely want to do more of. Um, I love the medium of it, and like I said, watching 600 people, not that it was 600 people, but like it was a big room of people come together and having their own separate parts, and then watching it on the telly that was such a magical experience. Like, to watch it from being on a script to watching it in the living room, and it's like this fully finished masterpiece, which I will say is a masterpiece, even though I'm not even being biased. Like, it was genuinely one of the best bits of television I've seen in a long time. I love the idea of being a part of that. So anything like dark Netflix drama, would love to
Gritty.
do something. Yeah, gritty. I think that's every actor's sort of dream because we can just immerse ourselves in it so quickly. But then I've also been obsessed with Miranda recently. I've been binging Miranda, and I think
The
she's,
throwback.
yeah, I've been binging her. She's absolutely hilarious. So I'd love to do like maybe like a sitcom.
Yeah.
Um, I did Two Doors Down, and how funny all those guys are, and being in the comedy scene, like it really allows you to like just be silly and no one cares. And I
Yeah.
like like just throwing yourself into something and no one like is batting an eyelid about how silly you're being as well.
Mm.
So definitely film and telly. I think Scotland's theatre scene is very easy to crack because it is so small. So
Mm.
once you've cracked that, you're sort of like, okay, like give me the next thing. You're sort of hungry for more, I suppose.
Amazing. Yeah, Miranda is like such a comfort show for me. I love her. I absolutely love her. Like,
It's really
yeah.
great.
And I always feel like, I mean, I hope the sets are like that. I feel like the sets would be
Yeah.
like that, is that they're warm and funny and that you will really enjoy coming to work because it's going to be really funny. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think the other night, my boyfriend and I went to see a horror film in the cinema, and it was so scary that when we got home, I was like, "Can we put Miranda on?" Like, I was like, I can't go to bed after watching this horror film. But then horror would be so fun to do because um, it wouldn't be that scary on the set, and I think that's so
Um,
interesting. And like I was like, imagine we watched this in silence. Like, would you think it would be scary? And he was like, no. And I was like, how interesting is that? Like,
yeah.
it's making it scary and things. So I'd love to do horror. I'd love to do sitcom and anything sort of gritty. Netflix are great to work for as well. Like, obviously, they're just such a good company and they look after you like
Mm.
no amount. So it'd always be lovely to go back and work for them again.
Yeah, no, exactly. I like the fact that you've said a good range of things because there's this, I think it's a myth. I'm sorry, I don't like this part that the people go, you have to focus on, you have to be very specific about what you want to do and all these things. And I'm like, but I want to do everything. Like, I want to do, like, if Lord of the Rings came around again, yeah, I'd want to do Lord of the Rings. Or like, yeah, if there's a sitcom, yes, I'd like to do that. Like, there's not many things that I wouldn't want to do because I'm so interested in all the aspects of it. So it's nice that you said a bit of everything. Yeah.
I think I pigeonholed myself a lot, especially when I was younger, like coming into acting about what roles I could do and what roles I couldn't do.
Mm.
I've always been told that I've always been told that I'm not funny. I'm not a funny actor. I'm very serious, is what everyone tells me.
Okay.
My mum was like one day, she was like, Gabs, you're absolutely hilarious. She
You
was
seem like quite a funny person, so that surprises me.
I'm so bubbly and like love
Mm.
like could chat to anyone. So when people told me in like uni and stuff, they were like, you should do more serious acting. I was like, I'm hilarious. What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? And then I booked two doors down and I was like,
See?
what do you mean? So yeah, definitely don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do because you can do anything that you actually want to put your mind to, I think.
Yeah, and I just think let them cast you in what they see you as.
Sure.
Like, do you know what I mean? Obviously, if there's something that you're gunning for, go for that thing 100% and work towards it. But, they're going to see you how they see you. Like, they don't see your whole personality because they don't have time to see your whole personality. So, if they will see you how they want to interpret you to start with. And then, later down the line, you can change their mind or whatever. But it's like what you said, you've been cast in a sitcom and you were told that you were doing more serious roles. And then you went on to do, obviously, a more gritty role. So who's to say, people will see you in different lights.
And also you can learn the technique of comedic timing. Like it's not as if it's like everything you can pick up. I feel like so I wouldn't pigeonhole yourself and say like, oh, I only do serious roles or I only do like silly roles because all often it's like the complete opposite of what people tell you it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So my last question is, what advice would you give to any creative?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me this to be honest. I was thinking about it. And I was
I ask it to everyone.
sure, and I love hearing what everyone else says as well because it's really interesting.
Mm.
My for anyone and something I would have loved to have been told when I was younger is that there's blessing in the breaking, and by that I mean that when you're being told no, or when you're being redirected, or when someone's saying to you you're not good enough, or when there's silence, when there's no work, I feel like there's opportunity there for you to be a better person, performer, actor. And I think often we always focus on what we're not doing when it's a quiet time, and we focus on the bad things they've said about us and what we can't do. And I think there's a big, massive amount of blessing in the fact that, okay, when we're quiet, what can we do to to make sure that when the next thing does come around, we're ready for it.
Mm, mm.
And to make sure that, like, when we get told no, okay, cool, that means that that wasn't for me, but the next thing might be. So how can I be better from this role to the next role to make sure that they turn around and say, yeah. I think always ask for feedback if you can. If you can, people often shy away from that. They think they're being like rude or pushy, but if you're taking the time to take for a casting director, like just email them and be like thanks so much for the opportunity. Do you have any feedback? Because that often that feedback is something that is out with your control, and you're often worrying about like your performance, and usually it's just because like you might be a bit small or you might be a bit tall compared to the other person, or something very logistical a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So I would say definitely like when there's silence or when there's breaking, it's often a sign that something better is coming along, and don't get too bogged down in the fact that you've been told no, or the fact that there's silence in the industry just now because something better is coming along, or it's a chance for you to better your performance.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for chatting. That was really, really great.
Thank you so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
No worries.